Hey everybody, it is time once again for Rahdo to run through the best games of the year, preliminarily. And what do I mean by that? Well, hello everybody. I am coming to you on Christmas Eve from our RV. We're in Central California visiting my sister-in-law's family. We'll be celebrating the holidays with them tomorrow. But right now, I got to tell you about the best games of 2024. Although, before I get to that, let's do some housekeeping first of all. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, Festivus, Solstice. There are so many. Bodhi Day, that's a good one. Whatever holidays you and yours might be celebrating, I hope you have the best possible ones you can. And we're doing pretty good here. One more thing before I get going with the best of 2024. You may notice there's some 2023 games shadowing me on either side. Folks, I need to do an update. This is going to be the second time I have had to update my best games of 2023. Of course, last Christmas Day, I gave you all a preliminary list of 2023 games. Then, midway through the year, I updated it with some big changes. Folks, as I've been on the road, I have discovered some more 2023 classics, and I would be remiss not to update the 2023 list. So before we get to 2024, we're throwing into the Wayback Machine. And first of all, let me tell you, folks, about Ancient Knowledge right over here. Although I should say, honestly, just the base game of Ancient Knowledge, now that I finally got a chance to play it, I wouldn't want to touch it with a 6-foot chisel, quite frankly, without the Heritage expansion. That's what makes this game really sing. This is a great little civilization building card game, but unfortunately the base game had some really nasty attack cards, take that style cards, about a dozen of them. They were just mean spirited for no good reason and they ruined the game. But with the Heritage expansion, what you can do is it comes with a bunch of new cards. You can remove the dozen or so nasty cards from the base game and then replace them with a random selection from the Heritage. You're supposed to just throw everything in the box, but nope, can't do that because you got to keep the different number of cards for each type balanced and all of that. But with Heritage, and I'll be talking about this more in my monthly Rahdo Roundup, in a couple of days, I think on the 31st of December. I'll talk more about how to properly integrate this into this to make this one of the best games of 2023. It's in fact my new number 9 best game of the year. And then there is one other I got to talk about right over there, Flip Town. Honestly, Kimberly did a run through of this on the channel, and there's going to be a link for Kimberly's run through and links for everything I'm talking about today down in the show notes, folks, if you'd like to see these things in action. Anyway, Kimberly did a run through of Flip Town when it was crowdfunding, and at the time I thought, oh, that's a nice looking roll and write, but I've played other ones. I've played other ones that even borrow this idea of trying to build poker hands because it's not a roll and write, it's a flip and write. You flip up a certain number of cards and you use those cards to do actions in the Old West while also trying to build the ideal poker hand. But we got to play this a couple of weeks ago with some friends in Southern California, and I was blown away by it, folks. This game is phenomenal. Go check out Kimberly's run through. I did not appreciate just how good it is. I'll be going into more detail on this one again when I do the monthly roundup, but it is now, my number 8 best game of 2023. So actually, I guess, hold on a second, if you go over to top.rahdo.com, http://top.rahdo.com, you can get to, here is my new final, this time for sure, 100% best games of 2023. So Evacuation bumps to 10, then you got Ancient Knowledge at 9, Flip Town at 8, and then the rest that I had talked about earlier in the year. And these two games are so good, they further solidify, if you go all the way down to the bottom of top.rahdo.com, they further solidify 2023 as the greatest year ever in board gaming, at least for Jen's and my taste. Although, as you can see, 2024 is coming in hot as currently my second best game year ever. And then 2019, 2020. You can dig into this if you want. I'll put a link for top.rahdo.com down in the show notes too if you want to go through all this stuff. As you can see, I break down, there's dozens and dozens of the best games all ranked for every year, going back for over a decade, including, like I said, 2023. And while today, I should say, I'm only going to be telling you about the top 10, my preliminary top 10 for 2024, you can see like a top 30. And here they all are right there. Oops, I'm kind of spoiling. So, there's a whole bunch more games that I will not be talking about today. But a little bit later in this video. I'll probably talk about some of them when I go over the Boardgame Geek top 100 games of the year, something I've never done before. So wish me luck. I'm a little nervous about it. Anyway, though, that's where we are now. There's numbers 30 to numbers 11 of 2024 on screen right there if you want to pause them and look at them. Also, by the way, you'll notice I've got playthrough links of almost all of those games too, so you can go check them out. But enough dilly-dallying, folks. You want to hear about the absolute best of the best. Well, one more thing before I get going. I did mention this is a preliminary list, right? Here I am on December 24th. I have not played all the games of 2024, although there are only 3 games I have not yet played that I think could push their way into my top 10. Those are Civolution, Adventures of the South Tigris, and most importantly, El Burro, a La Granja game. Honestly, I don't think Civolution and Adventures of South Tigris, they could probably push into my top 30 of the year, but probably not my top 10. I'm all but positive El Burro is going to make it into my top 10. Unfortunately, I did not bring my copy with me to travel on the road with, so like always, folks, this is going to be a preliminary list. I've said preliminary how many times now? The word's lost all meaning, but midway through the year, when Jen and I might find ourselves in a very different life circumstance, more about that coming in the new year, I'll revisit my top 10. I've been doing this for years now, giving you a preliminary on Christmas Day and then midway through the following year trying to do a more final list. Although 2023 was so good I had to keep revisiting it over and over again. Anyway though, hopefully before the end of the year, I will actually have a run through of Civolution up, and maybe in January I'll get to El Burro and what was the other one I said? Oh, Adventures of the South Tigris. Those ones all have potential. And everything else I've read about in 2024, I think there's a lot of great games I want to check out, but probably nothing else is going to push into the top 10. So I'm feeling pretty good, in all honesty, about this top 10. This might be my most solid, and solidified, same thing, list on the Christmas Day. And I am just belaboring the point. I should really get right to it, shouldn't I? Shouldn't I? Yeah, you've been waiting long enough. So let's get going, starting with the number 10 best game of 2024. Preliminary, that's my last time, I promise I will not, I'll strike it from the record. The number 10 best game that I and my wife Jen have played so far has to be Shipwrights of the North Sea Redux. That's my number 10, and I'm sticking to it. Oh, this is so, so good. And sadly, this is, I think, the only game today that I do not have a full run-through on the channel for. So I am relying on Taryn and Stella of Meeple University. They've got a great live playthrough they did of the game. There'll be a link for that down shown if you want to see it in action and see why Jen and I fell so hard in love with this game. I think it's phenomenal. This, honestly, it's a bit early to say. I need to spend more time with it. This might be my favorite Garphill game of all time, quite frankly. And it's interesting because this is designer Shem Felix revisiting a very early game from his design career. It wasn't his first game he ever designed, but it was like his 3rd or 4th. And it was the first of the North Sea trilogy. And the original Shipwrights of the North Sea was a very aggressive, cutthroat, nasty, nasty game of players undercutting each other and all kinds of things as they were Viking architects or shipwrights trying to build seaworthy ships for the Vikings. Now, what Shem has done many, many years later, over a decade later, is he's gone back and revisited the subject matter of this game, but come up with a completely new design from the ground up. I would assume he's using the original Miko art from over a decade ago, but the new gameplay here is very Care Bear friendly, very live and let live, and why I think this might be my favorite Garphill game of all time. Although, oh man, the Circadians games are really good too. Anyway, though, sorry, I'm not trying to do a top 10 Garphill games, although let me know down in the comments, folks, if you'd like something like that. And by the way, I should say, if you have any questions about anything I'm talking about today, please ask me down in the comments. I answer every question every serious question everybody asks. So if you think I'm missing games, or if you want to know more about certain games, or what the heck, how did I come up with this list, let me know down in the comments. Anyway, though, back to Shipwrights of the North Sea Redux. Shem decided to revisit it and revitalize this game, and I love it to pieces. What is it? Since I haven't done a run-through for it, it is now a card drafting, tableau building recipe fulfillment game. Every round you're going to get a handful of cards. You're going to pick one for yourself, hand the rest to your neighbor. You know, Seven Wonders, Sushi Go style. And there's really nothing that special about that. Although, actually, I should say, shout out to Shem. He did a phenomenal job turning, what do you call it, that kind of closed hand draft. He did a different two-player rule set for it that is maybe one of the best closed hand two-player drafts I've seen, in terms of player scaling. Does it so nice. He also did a really great progress track two-player scaling thing as well, giving us a neutral player to compete against. Shem knocked it out of the park here so much. But anyway, so we're going to get a handful of cards after doing some closed hand drafting. And then we've got all these cards. They're multi-use cards. We might discard them to get resources. We might build them to become homes so we can house other cards. Or we might use them as blueprints to actually score points by building the ships we're here to build. And you just combine all these cards in so many ways. It's so satisfying and so much fun. Now, some people might not like this game at all, quite frankly, because other than the draft, there's really no interaction. Once you've got your final hand of cards, you're just going to be, face down in those cards, trying to puzzle out how best to use them, which ones to sacrifice to play and build other ones, and how to get special powers off, the heroes of the Viking village that we're in, and all of that. It's phenomenal. So all that's great. Why am I saying it's maybe the best Garphill game of all time? Because Garphill games from Shem and his frequent collaborator, Sam McDonald, have progressively, game after game after game after game, be getting heavier and more complex and more crunchy and more top-heavy with rules and whatnot. And, people have been loving it. This is a fallback to a simpler time. This is maybe the smoothest, cleanest game you can get from Garphill Games. It's so smooth, it's so elegant, it's so fast playing, it's so efficient, it's so lean. There's no fat on this bone. It is just pure and elegant, and it's wonderful. And I hope personally that this signals a way forward. I mean, there is nothing wrong with all the, crazy crunchy complexity of the South Tigers games that have been coming out. Like I said, heck, one of them might make my top 10. I haven't tried Adventures yet. But this, it does so much with so little. I so respect the design here. Shem, I don't know if I want to say this is your masterpiece, but I mean, considering how Raiders of the North Sea is still Garphill's biggest hit of all time. Heck, it won him the Kennerspiel des Jahres again. I love seeing him return to his roots and maybe step back from these mountains of complex rules to create something just so wonderful and so fast and so fun that I had to put it at number 10 of the year is, nope, I struck that word from the record, but my number 10 of the year is Shipwrights of the North Sea Redux. And it's very important to get the Redux version, not the original. I never played the original, never wanted to, but this one, it is something special, folks. I love it. I love it a lot. Now, let's move on to number 9 of the month. And let's see. I got to put my number 9 on the screen. Why did this disappear? Why can I no longer type the number 9? If I click text, what has happened? Everything's falling apart. What is going on here? Okay. All right, there it is. All right, number 9. Yeesh. I made sure everything was in the right place, but now everything is just disappearing right in front of me. But that's okay. Number 9 is Wondrous Creatures. From a relatively new design house, Bad Comet. Watch for Bad Comet, folks. Last year's Bad Comet game, Amazonia, was it Rise of Amazonia? Something of Amazonia made it into my top 10, and now they're 2 for 2. 2 years in a row, they hit the top 10, this time with Wondrous Creatures, which is, there's no other way to put this thing. This is an Everdell killer. In the best possible way. This is a worker placement game where you've got lots of really cool looking workers. They're kind of, animal creatures and whatnot, kind of Everdell feeling, and we're going to place them out onto a board to do a bunch of stuff, but most importantly, grab new cards from our hand and get the resources we need to play them into our own private play area. Worker placement to harvest stuff, to be able to play cards to score points. Again, I could have just described Everdell, but Wondrous Creatures goes so far above and beyond Everdell in a bunch of different ways. And by the way, you can check out this run through I did with Alex Hart of Might I Suggest a Game. Had so much fun playing with him. I've had so much fun playing it with Jen since then. I would say there's a lot of great things. I love the card powers in this game. They're really, really cool. But what's really important is the worker placement, because our workers do not just occupy one worker placement slot. They are actually animal steeds that we get to move around on that are long, and whenever you place them down, they grab multiple places in the hex-based worker placement board. And so whenever you deploy your workers, you're getting to do multiple actions. But if you have them overlap these two things, I see, is there a spot where I could kind of zoom in and you could actually see the word? All right, there's briefly. It's not, so you can see, oh, there goes Alex. He's actually updating the board, but you can see those yellow things are a couple of the workers we place that let you grab multiple actions at once, depending on what they're adjacent to. And the worker placement board is constantly updating itself and evolving over the course of the game. This is next level worker placement stuff. It's absolutely phenomenal, and the whole game could have been just that. But then, independent of that, all the really awesome card powers you're getting, that you're doing all the worker placement to be able to play the cards and, race to complete objectives and all that. The cards are phenomenal too. The art is phenomenal. Everything about this game is just sings. And so, I'm pretty sure it was Rise of Amazonia, right? I can just go back. And I can look at my top 10 of 2023. Where was it? It was Life of the Amazonia. Everything about Life of Amazonia was amazing. And Wondrous Creatures, this is a 1-2 punch that means Bad Comet is going to be a publisher to watch moving forward, folks. This is a phenomenal game. If you'd like to know more about it, link down in the show notes. You can watch me and Alex playing a game, having an absolutely phenomenal time with my number 9 of the year. What was it again? Wondrous Creatures. Okay, now let's move on to number 8. And can I type in the number? Yes, okay, now it's working. Everything's going smoothly now. My number 8 is CoLab. Now, this is a game you're probably not going to see on a lot of top 10 lists. I think it only recently came out, and it hasn't been getting near as much attention as it should. But oh my gosh, this is another phenomenal worker placement game. We are mad scientists, working in our lab, trying to complete different projects, like, breathing life into automatons and making, crazy machines to control the weather and all kinds of stuff. But we're doing it through worker placement to harvest the resources we need to be able to play cards that have special powers, right? That's 2 for 2. I guess I have a type. But this game has so much cool, fun stuff going. First of all, what makes the worker placement stand out is I send out, on my turn, I'm going to do 2 worker placement actions. First, I'm either going to send out or retrieve one of my minions. And I load these minions with dice and send them out to do a straight up worker placement spot. But then they stay on the board and they become whatever die I put on them when I sent them out to do an action. That die becomes a resource that I and any other player can use to actually build our cards. And so first I send out or recover a minion depending on the timing of the game. Then I move my scientist people, and these are awesome, huge miniatures. They just look so great. Everything about this game is phenomenal table presence. One of the best produced games of the year, quite frankly, but I'm talking about gameplay here. I send my scientists out to go to one of the different labs that are surrounded by all these minions. My minions and my opponent's minions. And the more minions that are there, the more powerful my scientist action is going to be. And so, again, players are kind of dynamically creating a worker placement board over the course of the game by where they send their minions. I might have thought, oh, I'm not going to be able to build this weather machine for a few more rounds, but you happen to put a minion with a high value purple die in the exact spot. All of a sudden I could rush over there and take advantage of that. But in effect, we collaborate. I use your minions, you use my minions, and it's fantastic. And I love the worker placement here. But that's only half of the game. Honestly, even if this was just a straightforward worker placement game or even something even more simple, this is the big gimmick of the game. Players sharing workers with each other. That's the collaboration of this game. That's not what really makes this game special. It's the cards. This is a game where once I've actually got the resources and I'm going to build the card out there, there are three different types of cards. Animated creatures and potions and devices, gadgets that you can build. All three of them function in different ways. But whenever I play a card, we're building a grid of cards out in our play area. And this is some of the best tableau grid building I have seen since the original Glenmore, quite frankly. Because each of these things works differently, but the way that your cards you're building collaborate with each other as you build up your tableau is world-class amazing. The devices, they can only be activated once per turn, and you get these cool little switches you get to place on, like your Dr. Frankenstein, flipping a switch and making machines go. Other ones activate when you put things adjacent to them. Again, shades of Glenmore. And then the potions, they give you passive powers, but only if you have potions to drink. So, they're kind of a limited resource thing. The card powers in this game are phenomenal. And one last thing I have to say. When I covered it originally, when it was crowdfunding, I had one complaint about the game. It was a little on the long side. And, and that was my only complaint. This is something I'm seeing more and more and more with games. These Euros are just getting crazy, crazy long. Honestly, the length of Inventors of the South Tigris and Civolution, from what I've read, is probably why neither of them will make it into my top 10. And one of the reasons CoLab did is because you can play the epic long game that will take you multiple hours, but they also shipped with an alternate set of rules that are kind of similar to Terraforming Mars Prelude expansion that lets you skip the first third of the game and just get right into the meat of it and cut down the game length by 30%. And it's awesome. All publishers need to be paying attention to this because not everybody has, 2.5, 3 hours to play these big epic experiences. We want the epic experience in a shorter time frame, and CoLab delivers it. Everything about this game is rock solid. The production, the two different games bolted together, the smart express play mode, I love it, which is why it comes in at number 8 of the month. Of the year. I'm not doing a roundup. I'm doing a yearly roundup. It's number 8, CoLab. Check it out, folks. Oh, do not sleep on this. I think this is going to be one of the hidden gems of 2024 because there's so many great games already. But now, let us move on to number 7 on the list. This is one that's going to make a lot of people's lists, I think, folks. It is Castle Combo. And so far, I've been talking about big, epic games, or, epic-ish Euro games. This is an elegant, fast-playing little filler of a game. You're going to sit down and from start to finish, including setup and taking away, you're going to be in and out in less than 20 minutes because you're going to take 9 turns drafting cards either from the village to get villagers or from the castle to get nobles, and you're playing them to a little 3x3 grid where all the different cards are going to interact with each other in cool and interesting ways if you can get the right card at the right time for whatever your overall strategy is. I talked about this at length when I covered it before, and I talked about my monthly roundup, and I know I have seen this make it into a bunch of different top 10s of the year. I think this is going to be my first game I'm talking about today that that you're going to be hearing a lot about, and with good reason. This game is just perfection. It's fast. It's crunchy, the rules are simple, but the turns are deep. The decisions you make, you push your luck, you try to go for strategies, or you take the easy out, you have to pivot when new cards come out, or the card you wanted disappears because somebody else drafted it, or made it disappear, or what have you. It's got a great look, it's got an amazing gameplay, and this is from the same publishing house as Far Away, another critical darling from last year. They are ones to watch moving forward. Is it... who is it? Is it Sorry We're French? I think that's the publisher. Oh, if I got it wrong, let me know down in the comments, folks. I'm just flying from the seat of my pants here. I should have done more research. But anyway, all I'm saying is number 7, Castle Combo. I fell so hard in love with it the first time I played it. I brought it with us on the road because I wanted to play it more. Even though I had a bunch of new games I had to play. This is maybe one of the greatest filler games, filler Euros ever. I'm not saying the greatest, but it is one of. And I'm not alone in this, folks. Watch other top 10s. You'll see I'm not the only one raving about number 7 of the year, Castle Combo. Okay, let's move on to number 6. Now, this is another one that you won't be hearing about, I think, on a lot of other lists, but I think it's the bee's knees. It is Phoenix New Horizon from another relatively new publisher, Paro Local Games. I'm pretty sure that's right. And this is a game set in kind of a Fallout post-apocalypse. Hey, mankind is emerging from the bunkers and trying to rebuild society vibe. Very Falloutish. I mean, it's actually kind of got a retro 50s look to it. This could have been a crunchy Fallout themed game, but they went with their own approach to it, and it is absolutely phenomenal. There is so much going on here. I've already done a run through for it, so you can check that out. But it is another worker placement game. And now the worker placement board, you can see it. It's in the top right corner over there, although I've got it sideways to make it all fit on my little RV dinette. Oh, it is so hard filming stuff on the road, folks, on this little RV, but I make it work somehow. Anyway, the notion here is you've got workers, 3 of them if I recall correctly, and when it's your turn, you're going to take one of those workers and either, oops, let's rewind a little bit, not get to the end quite so quick. On your turn, you're either going to, actually, let's see if we can get close up. There we go. There's a close up of the worker board. One of your workers is either going to work at the level they're at now, because these workers can level up over the course of the game. And whatever level they're at, they've got access to powers. And so you could have them do different things, worker placement-y type Euro-y stuff. Or you can invest in them to upgrade them to the next level, and the next level, and the next level. There are 4 levels of advancement that these workers can get promoted through. And each one of the areas that they can promote their way up to are tight little areas. If you are there with somebody else, you feel so much tension because I went up here to get this power, but now you're there. I got to find a way to get there first. So the game does actually give you lots of really cool shortcuts you can use to promote and place at the same time if you're willing to spend, because everything is a race to grab the best worker placement spots possible with our promotable workers. And eventually, a worker will make it all the way to the upper echelon, do one of the most powerful moves in the game, and then they get busted back down to freshmen and start working their way up again. This worker placement board is so much fun. It is so engaging to make these tough choices about, well, you know what, maybe I'm fine with them just on the 2nd floor. And because they can keep on using this one particular, oh, but no, now somebody else lives with me on the 2nd floor. Maybe it's time for a promotion and move up because this suddenly got a little too crowded, or maybe not. If you can work the turn order in your favor. Or you can always bust somebody down to the lower levels sooner and get huge paydays if you time it right. And now that's just half the game, is the really cool worker placement, but then the other half of the game, you're rebuilding society, you're building infrastructure and civilization. You've got a lot of objectives to try to, and there are objectives all over the place. At any given time, you've got, what is it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, what is it, 79, I think you've got like 12 different objectives you could be chasing over the course of the game. And you can't do them all, but the game gives you so many different tools to pursue so many different agendas. And it is so satisfying to play, driven by a really, really clever, fresh worker promotion. I'm not going to call it worker placement. It's worker promotion. And it's awesome. And everybody should check it out. Another game that I think is going to fly under the radar because it's from a new publisher that not a lot of people know about. But folks, check out my run through if you want to see it in action. I think you'll be impressed, like Jen and I were, with number 6 of the year. Sorry if I keep saying of the month. Number 6 of the year, Phoenix New Horizon. Okay, now let's move on to number 5, going from a big game to a small game. It is Cities. This is not quite a filler game like Castle Combo, but this is one of the lighter games that Jen and I really loved this year. And it's interesting, this is from an incredible designer team up. Steve Finn and, I can't think of his name all of a sudden. The brothers Murph always say praise be, and so does Ruel. Oh my gosh. All I can think of is Phil Duberry, because Phil Duberry is making a comeback now, but it's, oh my gosh, the guy who designed Barron Park. Oh, folks, my brain. There's just too many games to talk about. Somebody who designed Barron Park, put that down in the comments for me. I can't believe I forgot. But anyway, this is an amazing team up between him and one of my other favorites of all time, Steve Finn. And the two of them have made a wonderful city building game. It's a tile laying game where we're putting tiles out, to build up lay the groundwork for the suburb of the city we're building, but then also drafting lovely little plastic buildings and building them on the tiles we're creating. So it's like a multi-level tile layer, but we're building we're spreading our buildings out, but also building higher and higher and higher, depending on what objectives we have, what we're trying to do. The trick of it is, at the beginning of a round, I think the game is over 3 or 4 rounds, so it's a fairly quick game. A lot gets done in a very short time. When it comes your turn to draft, you could be drafting new objective power cards, or you could be drafting new tiles, or you could be drafting those buildings that are going to go on the tiles. But this stuff gets gobbled up fast, 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 fast. Nowhere faster than in a 2-player game, because the game has brilliant 2-player rules. I've heard some people have said that they don't think it's they think it's better with more players. I think it's absolutely best as a 2-player game because of the way they sped up the drafting, because whenever you're drafting, you have to grab multiple things in a 2-player game, and so it becomes kind of an entwined drafting thing that is absolutely phenomenal. And then I love tile laying, I love SimCity style city building. This game is just elegant and clean and fast playing, and it comes with a lot of variability built in too, because it's called cities, because built into the box, I forget, there's I think like 6 or maybe 8 different world cities, like Rio de Janeiro or Mexico City or Philadelphia, was that one of them? Cities from all around the world. And whichever city you're going to be building suburbs in, that introduces new rules and tweaks to the overall gameplay. And I think they've already released some promo cities, and I'm fingers crossed hoping for more cities. But even just what comes in the game, this game is absolutely phenomenal. I can't think of the designer of Barron Park and half a dozen other games I can name off the top of my head. But him and Steve Finn, somebody please tell me in the comments, this is driving me nuts, have made something really special. Again, go watch my run through to see how it plays, especially as a 2-player game. It's so tension filled. You are just nail biting from start to finish, and so satisfying too as you build bigger and better very fast in number 5 of the year, cities. Then we move on to number 4 of the year, the blueprints of Mad King Ludwig. And folks, it's a roll and write or flip and fill, whatever you want to call them. I know other people are burned out. I'm not. I say keep bringing awesome opportunities for me to feel like I'm really creating something, not by putting pieces on a board, but by actually drawing the board. This is a roll and write version of the Castles of Mad King Ludwig, and it so improves on castles in every demonstrable way, because it drops the I split you choose drafting method of the original Castle of Mad King Ludwig, which I know some people love, but for me and Jen, I split you choose is probably one of our least favorite mechanisms. It so drags down the game and makes things so ponderous. This is a much more clean open draft system where we're grabbing cards that let us make different wildly odd shaped rooms in our Castle for the Mad King every time you play. Just like so many games from publisher Bezier, they are just the masters of this. You get an interesting combination of objectives that you're trying to pursue, and that will give you a direction, but it will become a very, very challenging puzzle to build all the way through. Every time you build a new room, that gives you access to more cool special powers you can use whenever you want, and it's just phenomenal. Also, it's great from a production methodology too, because you're actually not writing on regular paper, you're writing on vellum paper, transparent paper, because what you need to do is once you get a card like that map room I just got, you got to figure out, where am I going to put it? What I can do is you can slide the card under the page and maneuver it around to try to eyeball what is going to be the best position, because sometimes these things can get really tight and you're like, oh, that's the perfect thing, but will that shape fit? It's a very smartly designed production methodology too, because if this had been a traditional thing where, I get a card and then I just have to visualize, will this thing fit? I don't know, because again, this is a simple one I've got on screen right now, this nap room, but some of these shapes are really complex, and it's really good to be able to try them out by slipping them under the vellum paper. Will I ever do that in this video? Maybe if I zoom back earlier, I don't know. Maybe I can find myself doing it at some point. It's a really, right, let's see. There I am drawing one of the more complex shapes. It's going to be hard for me to find it. Let's see. Maybe I'll do it here with that crazy shaped room. Right. Am I gonna put the right? Oh yeah. I'm about to see. It's like, how can you figure out how that fits? Go ahead. Do it. Past me. Do it. Come on. There we go. You slip it under. It's transparent paper. And now you can visualize for Jen. This is such an important thing. Jen's one of those players that when she's drafting tiles, she has to grab them all one at a time and turn them around and try to see how it'll fit in her jigsaw puzzle of a board. I love they found a way to do this in a roll and write. It's so smart, it's so sharp, and that's beside the point. That's just a clever solution to a production issue that they came up with that really makes this feel different than everything else, but it's really the gameplay. This is so satisfying, so much fun. Let me go ahead and zip ahead as you try and you make all these interesting weird shapes and you expand the area you've got to build in and score in all kinds of fun different ways and unlock all kinds of special powers. Oh my goodness, Blueprints of Mad King Ludwig is so amazing. It came out mid-year. I fear this is going to be one that people forget about because it's a roll and write version of an already exceptionally popular game that's already had other spin-offs before. And I think a lot of people are saying, well, why would I want the roll and write or flip and fill? You know what I mean, random and write, or no, this is draft and write. Why would I want this would be the lesser version, right? No. Again, this is superior to the original game in every way imaginable. I could never go back and play. No offense to Castle of Mad King Ludwig. It was a very cool and influential game at the time, but this builds on it so much. This is not the little brother. Castles of Mad King Ludwig, as far as I'm concerned, is the little brother of Blueprints of Mad King Ludwig, which is the number 4 best game of the year by far. For my taste anyway. Love it! But now, let's move on to, where are we at? Number 3? Oh my goodness, folks. Number 3 is Windmill Valley. And now, this is going to be, I think this is only like the second game I've had on my list that I expect I would find on other people's lists. I've got a lot of a bit more oddball, out of left field games here. But Windmill Valley, I mean, this is going to be in a lot of people's top 10 for good reason. This permanently cements new designer Danny Garcia as one of the greats to watch moving forward. Because, if Arborea wasn't enough, and if Barcelona wasn't enough, his freshman and sophomore, his junior outing, Windmill Valley is his best game by far. He actually had 3 games that came out this year. Neko Syndicate was great as well. Really cool pick up and deliver game. And Daitoshi was very, very cool, although I had some issues with the 2-player scaling of it. So neither of those made my top 10, but oh my gosh, Windmill Valley is such a satisfying game because it stands on one of the shoulders of one of the great giants of the industry, Tzolk'in the Mayan calendar. Because we're zoomed in right now. Let me see if I can zoom out and show you the awesomeness of our windmill. Everybody has their own little double gear wheel board that is programmable. You can add more and more cool special powers on this, and every step on your first thing you're going to do, every turn, is rotate that and put new combinations of abilities next to each other. And unlike Tzolk'in the Mayan calendar, the OG of big gears on a table, where you only get to rotate once every round, you're constantly rotating this thing. It's so satisfying, it's so fun, and it's so brilliant that the 2 different cogs are different shapes. Because you think, oh, if they were the same, if both of them had 6 spokes, then the 2 things would always match up. But the combos you can create between powers by putting new powers in the left or the right gear change their combinatorial goodness throughout. And it's so much fun to play with those gears. But then the rest of the game is awesome too. It is the brightest, most vibrant, and pretty game that publisher Board and Dice have ever put out. And there are so many different ways that you are pursuing the agenda of being the best tulip builder in Amsterdam. Was it the Bloemen Road? Growing tulips, harvesting them, selling them, building windmills. So a big part of the game is using your windmills to control the flow of water, flooding fields, emptying them out. That speeds the game up, slows it down. There are so many interesting things. And something very important, and unlike Danny's other games, this is a fast game. This is a game you can get start to finish in under an hour, no matter the player count. And that is something I find myself appreciating more and more and more these days. And so, so much variety with all the different cool player powers. The cards you get, you either use them to give yourself a permanent power or an in-game scoring bonus. That's a tough choice to make every time you grab one of those new cards. And that's just one of many excellent decisions you will find yourself presented with from start to finish in the number 3 best game of the year. And I know I'm not going to be alone in this. This is going to make a lot of people's lists. From designer Danny Garcia, the excellent Windmill Valley. Okay, now let's move on to number to a game that was very bold in its titling, Spectacular. This could have blown up in their face. Oh, we think our game is so good, we're literally going to name it Spectacular. Well, you know what? It lives up to the title. This is a truly spectacular dice and tile drafting and laying game where players are trying to make their, their ideal animal conservancy, creating big, huge areas for the animals to be able to roam and live their best lives. And also, unlike a lot of games, we've had a lot of games over the last few years that have covered this topic of, oh, we're trying to make the ideal habitats for animals. But most of these games, you build the habitat, you score the points for the animals, and that's it. Not here. That's only the first half. Then you got to take care of the animals too, because not only do you got to get the right tiles in the right place to represent the animals, but then you've got to draft the right dice and place those dice on those tiles. That represents the ongoing feeding and care for the animals. I love the extra attention to detail, something that Ark Nova and its contemporaries tends to kind of forget, that it's an ongoing investment. You got to keep taking care of these animals. But so the theme is great, the presentation is great. Rescuing animals and trying to make the best natural habitats for them possible is absolutely wonderful. So all this is great, but what really makes this game stand out is it's an excellent drafting game. Every round what's going to happen is you've got your own collection of tiles and dice that you're going to use, and by the end of the game you will have used every one of your tiles and dice, and that will build up half of your conservancy. The other half is coming from a tray up in the top right corner of your board, where on your turn you're either going to grab a tile or a die from there, in addition to a tile or die from your own personal supply. And then you're going to combine those two dice, those two tiles, or that dice and that tile. Almost said that, but okay, that's a mouthful. But anyway, you're going to combine those and that, and you're going to do that over and over again, I think 15 times, if I recall, 15 or 16 turns. Quick game, super fast, really crunchy, excellent title. But what's happens is, after you've taken one of those things off the tray, that tray and everything that you left on it slides over to the player to your left. And so, as I'm trying to figure out what I want, I'm looking to what's coming down the road. Do I want to commit to trying to make this penguin habitat right now? Well, I don't know. If there's not going to be any blue dice, because I don't have any more blue dice, but I can see 2 players away, there's a blue die. And if I look at my neighbors, I don't even think they need those blue dice. Chances are I could make a go for it. I'm going to get that penguin tile, and I'm going to wait for that blue 5 to make its way around. Oh, please, please don't throw me for a loop, because it's got to make it through 2 players. There's so much, or again, as a 2-player game, you feel just as much tension. This open drafting is phenomenal, and it's so contrary to what is now firmly established, by 7 Wonders and all that, that everybody drafts in secret, and then only then do we reveal. Here we're drafting in public, so it's much crunchier than other games of its ilk. And then plus the fact that you've got to make these tough choices. Okay, from what I got right now, I want that tile, but I want that die. I don't think the other one's going to make it back around to me later. Which one am I going to do? Just agonizing decisions in the best possible way. This game puts the screws to you from start to finish, and it is so spectacular. There's no better word for it. It is the second best game of the year. Check out my run through to see more. Spectacular. But folks, there is one more game that eclipses even Spectacular. It is the best game of the year so far, because, well, again, this is a preliminary list. El Burro might take the crown, but for now, it's got to go to Saltfjord, which is fantastic. This is a re-implementation of one of the all-time great Euro tile drafting, polyomino tile laying, dice drafting, and tile laying games, Santa Maria. But this takes the core gameplay of Santa Maria and re-envisions it, both in terms of theme. It is much nicer to be Norwegian fishermen than it is to be era of colonization oppressors. I gotta say, big step up right there in terms of theme. But putting that aside, big step up in terms of gameplay. Replacing progress tracks with tech trees, yes please. Adding in a new push your luck fishing system that was nothing like in the old game, yes please. Bringing in some of the cool ideas that were in the expansion from the original game, yes please. This is such a huge improvement, more so than anything else. The goods manipulation, which I don't think is ever going to get as much attention from people as it should, because really, at the heart of this game is I'm trying to run my best fishing village. I am grabbing tiles, puzzling them together, polyomino style, and then grabbing dice to activate rows or columns. This is what I just described Santa Maria. I've just described Saltfjord. That gameplay is just some of the best I've ever seen. By the way, folks, I think this is like my number 12 or 13th highest ranked game of all time. This game is so good. It's just outside of my top 10 best games period ever. I love it so much. But anyway, there's something that I don't think is going to get as much attention. It is the goods conversion. There are, what is it, 8 different types of goods. Gold, which is the best, which is effectively a wild, can stand for other things. You've got fish, which is the most common thing because we are fishermen, but you can use those fish for all kinds of things, manipulating the dice or converting, upgrading goods into other types of goods. And then you've got, lumber that can be turned into building planks. You've got grain that can be turned into food, and you've got, pulp, paper that can be turned into books, and the thing is, as you grab more of these things, a big part of the puzzle of this game is converting goods into other goods, downgrading them, side grading them, selling them for fish so that you can use those fish to upgrade other things. A big part of this game, once you've got a bunch of resources, is you might think, oh, these are the resources I have. No, you can manipulate these resources in so many different ways in such a fun and satisfying side puzzle that I love it to pieces. And there was nothing like that in Santa Maria, and so this game so elevates. This is not just a re-theme, this is a whole new beast, and I love it to pieces, and it is currently the best game of the year by far for me. I don't know how Jen feels. For folks who want to know, next week, Jen and I are going to be doing her top 10 of the year as the monthly ramble. And she's just right over there. She's been working on taxes all morning. She's like, oh crap, I got to think of games for the whole year. Yes, honey, you do. But it'll be fine. I don't know if my mic picked up the grimace, but she'll do it for you, or not for you folks, but for the folks who back the show, who help keep Rahdo running at patreon.com. The ramble coming will be Jen's top 10. I will be interested to see. I know this is going to rank high for her. She gave it 5 stars, so it's one of the best games for her. Will it be her favorite? I don't know, but it is mine for now until I play El Burro. Maybe. We will see. But Saltfjord is a tough act to follow. It is a tough one to beat. And oh my goodness. Hi, everybody. That was it. The 10 best games of the year. So far. How long have I been going? 46 minutes. Why did I say I was now going to go through the top 100 of Boardgame Geek? I thought I was going to have to fill it out. I thought I was only going to be talking for 20 minutes and I'd need a bigger, longer, but nope. I promise you I'm going to do it. And I am scared. This is going to take a while. But is there anything else to say about that? Oh, folks, like always, let me know down in the comments what you think. If you think I've really shortchanged stuff, we're about to see. What did I pass over? What does the denizens of Boardgame think are the best? Because I guarantee you, they don't agree with me at all, and I don't agree with them. But let's get to that, and then by all means, folks, be sure to like and subscribe to the video like always, and you won't want to miss next week on the January 1st. I'm going to be doing my top 25 games most anticipated for the year 2025. So you won't want to miss that next week. Plus, I'll be doing the monthly roundup, telling you about all the games Jen and I played. And if you are back on the show, you'll also get to hear Jen's favorite games of the month and Jen's favorite games of the year as an exclusive thank you to help keep Rahdo running. But anyway, enough of all of that. Where are we? Okay, yes. So I need to come back over to the browser, and here we are on my favorite. I was going to say, is this my favorite or is Wikipedia my favorite? It's probably my favorite. The website I spend more time on than anywhere else YouTube. YouTube, Boardgame Geek, and Wikipedia. That's my numbers 1, 2, and 3. The 3 most valuable websites for me. But anyway, we're on Boardgame Geek, and we're going to go up to search. And then we're going to go to advanced search, which a lot of people don't even know exists. And then once we're on advanced search, we're going to type in, I want to know about all the games from 2024 in your database to 2024. Just those games. Don't need to hear about expansions right now. That would be a different list. Submit. And then finally, sort them. Boop. Sort them by user votes. And folks, this first page is 100 games. Now, I'm not going to go into detail on 100 games. A bunch of these I haven't played. A bunch of them I have. A bunch I have mentioned just now. Some of them I haven't. I'll tell you why they didn't make my top 10. But shall I start at the top or the bottom? Let's work our way up. Let's go down to the bottom. Game number 100, according to Boardgame Geek, is Astronaut Eternity of the best of 2024, and I can't fault them for that. Astronaut is a phenomenal game, but for me, this isn't even a game. This is an expansion, and I leave expansions off my list. Trick Shot, shoot scores, rerolls, So it's a roll and write about, was it playing pool, I suppose? A trick shot, that's what I've never heard of it, but it's a subject matter I'm not really interested in. But boom, then there's Spectacular, my number 2. And hey, it's in the top 100, so Boardgame Geek and I, that's a good start. And this surprises me. I did not think Phoenix New Horizon would be anywhere near the top 100 best games, but apparently the denizens of Boardgame Geek agree. So now, folks, you need to go check it out, because it's, what, is that 199.98, 99.97? Kavango. As you can see, I very much want to check this game out. It looks really cool, and I really dig the fact that it is designed by a couple of first-time designers who are actual conservationists, who are out there in the Okavango working with the endangered species, and now they've made a game about their life experience. That means it could be terrible or it could be amazing. Haven't got a chance to play it. This one could make it into my top 30 if I ever get a chance to get my hands on it. Agent Avenue, it's a blend of strategic bluffing. Oh, I don't care because I don't care about, I love bluffing in games. My wife hates it, so I'll probably never play it. Harrow County, a game of Gothic conflict. Kimberly did a phenomenal run through of this on the channel. Not Jen's and my cup of tea, but oh man, this is another great game from Senfun Lim and his collaborator. And oh, that's going to drive me nuts. Why can I not remember designer names? Let me know down in the show notes, folks, if you made it this far. Senfun Lim and, oh, I guess I gotta say, Sen has a more memorable name. Oh, okay, but anyway, yeah, it's a neat game. Check out Kimberly's run through there. Saltfjord, my number 1. Okay, made it into the top 90. That's not bad. Cthulhu, Death May Die, Fear of the Unknown. I don't even care. Plus, it's an expansion masquerading as a standalone game. I disagree that it should even be here. Boardgame Geek needs a way to categorize new games as actually, oh, it's an expansion for an existing game that's just been packaged, so that we can get true. I like talking about new things. Or, if it, like Saltfjord, something that takes something that's established and does something completely new with it. Cthulhu, Death May Die, that just gives you new monsters and sanities and rules in a standalone core box. That's an expansion. Whatever, doesn't matter. Odin, collect the right cards to rule Valhalla. I don't know anything about it, but I've never marked it as something, so I don't care. Mistwind is excellent. I got to play it as a prototype. This one could definitely punch into my top 30 because it's a super rare game, a pick up and deliver that Jen and I really loved. Go watch my run through. The components are phenomenal. Let's see. Vyajangara, the Deccan Empire. Okay, this is a war game. Don't care. A message from the stars. Work together to decode. Oh, another thing Jen and I generally aren't that keen on is deduction. So probably not that interested, but it looks pretty. Undergrove. I only got a chance to play this in prototype form, and sadly, I've never played it with Jen. I think Jen would love this. This is the latest big box crunchy game from Elizabeth Hargraves, Miss Wingspan, and many other games beside. And this is this is probably her heaviest design of all time. It's a great, great game. You can check out, oh no, I didn't run through it. Shay ran through it on the channel, but I thought it was phenomenal, and it's available now, and I'd love to try it with Jen someday, fingers crossed, because it could push into my top 30, I think. Flat Iron is in my top 30, which you saw briefly at the beginning. Great, great worker placement from Isra C and Shay something or other. The couple who did White Castle and Red Cathedral. And Flatiron is a phenomenal 2-player only worker placement game. Compile, main 1. I remember looking at this at one point and not being interested. Too abstract, don't care. Marvel United Multiverse is just an expansion for Marvel United. All right, Survive the Island. Hey, that's just a spin-off of Survive, which is a very cutthroat game. No, thank you. Fishing. You know what? In the past, I used to say I love always checking out Friedman Freeze games, even if 9 times out of 10 I end up not keeping them because I respect their design, but they dare not for me and Jen. So I should give this I should put it on my wish list. Which, by the way, if you folks want to see my wish list, you can go to wishlist.rahdo.com and see everything I've marked. I'm going to put it as a 4. I should check it out. Somehow that just slipped between the cracks. Cascadia, Rolling Rivers, and Rolling Forest. Those are both in my top 30. Although I think I put Rolling Forest in. Because if I had to pick one, I'd take Forest over Rivers. But they are great. A flip and right with conveyor belts themed loosely on the Cascadia feel. It's phenomenal. Watch, who did I do? Did I do a run through with that with Amy and Maggie, I think? I think that's what it was on the channel. Yeah, go check it out. It's great. Top 30, definitely. Loot is a game Jen and I played, and I liked it. But honestly, I did not think it was all that great as 2-player. It definitely wants 3 or more to really be, so I didn't end up keeping it. It's gone. Which, by the way, if you want to see everything that I got rid of this year, go to gone.rahdo.com, and you'll see I played dozens and dozens and dozens of games that I got rid of, and I explain why. For all the people who say, oh, by the way, we're done with number 1. I can go on ahead and hide that number 1 now. I don't need any more. For people who always say that Rahdo never says boo or bad things about any game, well, you're not paying attention, and you haven't gone to gone.rahdo.com, where I explain many, many games that I get rid of that are not the greatest game of all time. Anyway, though, I just like being positive wherever possible. That's what gone.rahdo.com is for. Continuing on, what have we got? Oh, Tower Up. It's on my wish list. I don't know much about it. I do like architecture type stuff. I think I looked at it at one point and I thought, oh, it looks okay, but maybe not great. I don't know. Star Wars, the deck build. Where is it? Star Wars, the deck building. Why can't I? Oh, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Here we go. There we go. Deck building game, Clone Wars edition. It's a head-to-head. I like to call these games dueling wizard games. You know, basically after Magic the Gathering. We're a couple of space wizards trying to fight each other and blow each other up. Don't care. No thanks. Unmatched, Slings and Arrows. Hey, it's another dueling wizard game, but this time on a board. Don't really care. And again, it's an expansion. It's not a new game. Dead Cells, a roguelite. This is one I definitely want to check out. Jen is kind of burned out on dungeon crawls, which is bad news for me because I still love them. But this is a Euro-style dungeon crawl from a murderer's row of amazing French designers. Some of my favorite designers out there, and some designers I respect very much, all working together on this re-implementation of a video game. Now, I haven't played it. Shay has, and within the next week or so, you should be seeing a run-through from him on the channel for Dead Cells, and I'm looking forward to seeing that myself so I can decide if it's something I want to seek out. But in the meantime, Galileo Galilei. This is in my, I think this is in my top 15, and it might be in my wife's top 5. She loved it. I think it's great. It's one of 3 games that came out this year from designer Thomas Hollick, and it's my wife's favorite. It's my second favorite. I think Tea Garden was the best one. And I think both of us agree that SETI is great, but SETI needed a bit more work for 2 players, so it comes in at number 3, even though I think most people, SETI's going to make a lot of people's top 10 of the year, but I would take Galileo Galilei over SETI, and I would take Tea Garden over both of them, personally. Let's see, Ironwood, side with the, all right, more dueling wizards, no thank you. Inventors of South Tigris, I already mentioned. See, here's the thing. I love the fact that finally, at the end of the South Tigers trilogy, Sam and Shem have stopped putting in all the nasty take that with the influence tokens. So I'm very excited to try it for that. But I'm very nervous because everybody says this is the most heavy, complex game Garphill has ever done. And if you remember earlier in this very video, I was singing the praises of Garphill finally making a more medium weight game instead of just going crunchier and crunchier and crunchier. And this is them going super crunchy. I bet it's way too long and way too heavy for me and Jen. I'm looking forward to trying it. Maybe it'll push into my top 30. Time will tell, but I'm excited. You can see, and I have it. Wishlist 5 means it's on my. If you go to what is it? If you go to unfilmed.rahdo.com, you can see a list of all the games I've got on my shelves waiting to be filmed. Then backers of my show at patreon.com get to vote every month on what I film. So I mark them as Wishlist 5. Don't buy it because I already have it and I need to film it. You know, that's and I want to play it, which is how I. If you go to wishlist. Unfilmed.rahdo.com, you get a list of everything that's flagged this way if you want to know what might be coming on the channel in the future. Kingdom, Legacy, Feudal Kingdom, 6-hour solo, no thank you. Explorers of Navoria is a very good game, and I do have it, and I have the expansion that crunches it up a little bit. The base game was super smart, but maybe a little bit too lightweight for me and Jen. But with the additional unique faction powers and whatnot, the expansion might push into my top 30. I am looking forward to playing it, and I'll probably end up talking about that. This is the preliminary. I haven't played it with the expansion yet, but midway through the year, I'll let you know how it worked out. Aqua, Biodiversity in the Oceans. Oh, this was a lovely little game. Very quirky, offbeat, abstractish type tile layer, very pretty, sharp stuff. A little, I wish they brought the theme in a little bit more. They could have. Watched the video I did many, many years ago for Reef to see how they could have brought the theme in stronger. Botanicus, this one breaks my heart. For the longest time, I've always been excited about whatever publisher Hans and Gluck puts out every year, and this year it's Botanicus, but I'm going to pass. I'm not even going to try and seek it out. I don't care, because kind of Hans and Gluck is dead to me now with the way that they screwed over the Meeple Inc. people by trying to enforce the Meeple trademark. That was one of the most disgusting things in the board game industry in 2024, and I'm sorry, you can talk to the hand, Hans and Gluck. I used to love you, but I'm kind of done covering your games now, which is too bad because they're a great, somebody was just a total dick in that company. And, I hate to hold that against the whole company, but yeah, I mean, that was just, anyway. Anyway, let's move on to more positive stuff. I like being positive. Creature Caravan, that's another that's in my top 30. The latest from designer, artist Ryan Lockett, and it's a wonderful little race through the countryside while we're building the countryside as we go. Game really sharp. You can watch my run through. Or Unmatched. Is this a second thing from Unmatched? See, this is the problem. Two games in Boardgame Geek's Top 100 are both called Unmatched when they're both expansions to the real Unmatched system. Don't like. Plus, they're dueling wizards again. Mandalorian Adventures. Oh, I so wanted to play this game. I think the action selection, even though I don't like Mando at all, it's probably my second least favorite of all the new Disney Star Trek or Star Wars shows. Maybe third worst. But anyway, though, I like the action selection system of it. It is getting an expansion. Maybe next year I'll get a chance to play it when the expansion comes out. Fingers crossed. Shackleton Base, A Journey to the Moon. I thought it was phenomenal. And it deservedly is going to make a lot of people's top 10 of the year. You can see you'll find it in gone.rahdo.com where you can find out why I didn't keep it, what my problem with the game was. But since you're here, I'll tell you. The two-player game is way too cutthroat, and that was the main thing. I think that was my main problem. It's a very cutthroat game at two-player, which is too bad. It didn't have to be, but it is. Conservice, this is another solo-only game, so not interested. Rings and Things, I think this is literally my number 30, my lowest ranked game that's in my collection. Very clever, what do you call it, party word game with Venn diagrams. Best implementation of Venn diagrams in board gaming. Next Station Paris, I would very much like to play this because I played, I think, Next Station New York, and I really liked it, and I'd like to see how they continue to evolve the system. Altered, a trading card, dueling wizard game, not interested. Huang, Unite China Under Your Banner. Quash Your Enemies, a war game, no thank you. Although this is interesting, I believe this, you know, one of my favorite channels out there is Amy and Maggie of Thinker Themer, because of course, why else would I have them on the channel? I love them. I love them as people. I love them as content creators. And spoiler alert, I think Amy put this as like her number 2 or her number 3 of the year, which really surprised me. But still, I'm not interested. But other people should be. Burning Banners, more wargamey stuff. Foundations of Metropolis is a remake of Foundations of Rome, but now it's affordable. That's very good. But as it turns out, both Foundations Rome and Foundations of Metropolis are a bit too cutthroat for my taste. Flip 7, I would give it a try sometime, but I'm just not interested in abstract, fast-playing little party games like that. Tainted Grail, Kings of Ruin, this is another spin-off. It's really an expansion. Masquerading is a standalone game, so it shouldn't even be on this list of the best games. But that's the problem with this system. Boardgame Geek does not have a way to classify those. So I guess I'm probably really talking about Boardgame Geek's top 85, because how many of these expansions masquerading as standalone games have we seen so far? That must be like the 5th or 6th. Maple Valley. I should try that, but it looks too lightweight for me. You can see I have not put it on my wish list, but I'd give it a try if I could. Harvest I covered many, many years ago, and this is just I mean, I would not, you know, I liked Harvest. I'd like to get it again. I've made up with the designer. He and we had kind of a thing for a while, but now we're all cool. And so I'd love to get the new Harvest. But I would not put it in my top, because as far as I know, the gameplay hasn't really changed. They've just like revamped the look, and it's very nice looking. But you can check out my original run-through of Harvest if you want to see how it plays. Middle Ages, no thanks, from the designer of, and this is a remake of a previous game that Jen and I played that was too cutthroat, from the designer of Splendor. Marc-Andre, is that it? Yes. But anyway, a lot of people love it. I'm sure it's going to be on a few top 10s. Sankore, Pride of the Mansa Musa. Now here's a tricky one. This one, I should really go back and play again. Jen and we played, we only got to play one game of it because we had it on the road last year, and I had to deliver it to Shay very quickly because I did not have the table space to film a run-through. And Shay did a run-through for the channel. He did a great job. So I didn't spend as much time with it as I'd like. It was a big, complex beast of a game. I suspect, like I suspect Civolution and Adventures of the South Tigris, I suspect at the end of the day, Sankore is too heavy, too complex. What is it? Was it Fabio Lapiano and Nestori Mangone, I think, were the two of them? I think it's probably going to be too much for me and Jen, but I really feel like I should play it again to see if it does deserve a place in the top 30. But Shay's got my copy, and I'm not going to be getting back there anytime soon. Leviathan Wilds is one of the most strongly thematic co-op games in board game history. It is in my top 30. It is excellent. You can check out my run-through of it. Pampero is a brilliant economic simulation about wind turbine building in, was it Argentina? It was somewhere in South America. I don't remember. Brazil? I do not remember which South American country. One of the Western ones. So that's where the wind comes in. And it was a brilliant business economic simulation worthy of a Vita Lasarda type game. But for both me and Jen, it was too much. Too heavy, too long, too much. Courtesans. Hey, it's a game of skullduggery on the menu. Okay, skullduggery is an instant out for us. Don't know anything about it. Inferno. I'm kind of interested in this because I like the idea of a worker placement game where in life I'm trying to lead people into sinful temptation so that after they die I can harvest their soul in a Dante's Inferno style area majority thing. That's a very attractive subject matter to me, but I think Jen would hate it just based on the subject matter alone. But you got to admit, I mean, there are still new themes coming out all the time for people who say we never see new ideas in games. That's a silly statement that some people say because they're very cynical and very shaking their fist at clouds. Black Forest. Oh, this is my biggest heartbreak of the year, my biggest disappointment, because it's a revamp and a revisit of one of Uwe Rosenberg's greatest designs of all time, Glass Road, but turning it into arguably an even better game. I like it. Glass Road is one of my favorite Rosenbergs, and I, for the most part, think this is a better game than Glass Road, but they ruined it by putting in a two-player scaling mechanism that turns it into a very cutthroat game that I hated with a passion. And as you can see, I hated it so much, I got rid of it. So it does not make it into my top 30, sadly. Nova Roma is another great design from Stan Kardonsky. This could have been in my top 30 easy, but it's it's interesting, they're right next to each other. It has the Black Forest problem. For two-player scaling, Stan, like Uwe, came up with a two-player scaling that turns an otherwise very Care Bear friendly game into a very nasty cutthroat affair where, oh, they tighten up the board by making me make moves that ruins your chances. That's what both these games do. I hate both of them, so I got rid of both of them. Anyway, then draft and write records. Yeah, I'd like to try that. As you can see, I mentioned earlier, I love roll and writes or draft and writes or random and writes, whatever you want to call them. And I like, I'm not really a vinyl aficionado, but the subject matter might be nice. I would definitely check this one out, but it slipped between the cracks. There we are, Shipwrights, my current number 10 for now. Fractured Sky, you know what? I am always amazed by the designs of IV games, and it's a shame that most of them are just not Jen's and my style of game, and that is definitely true of Fractured Sky, but Shay did a great run-through of it on the channel if you want to check it out. Cascadero bums me out. You can see it's number 3 on my, it's a level 3, would really like to try this, but I forget who the publisher is. I don't think I have any connections with that publisher, so they never sent me a review copy, and I missed it. But I'm always up for trying a new Reiner Knizia game, and this looks like a spiritual heir apparent to one of his all-time greats, Through the Desert, with a new theme and a new gameplay and all that, so I would definitely be keen to check it out. Pixies was a very neat little 3x3 grid game, like my number 5, Castle Combo, and Pixies is very good too. Honestly, Pixies had the bad luck of me playing it. I think I played it the same month I played Castle Combo, and I thought Pixies was good, but nowhere near as good as Castle Combo. And also much more abstract. That I think was my biggest complaint about it. And by the way, this is a mistake. I should say previously owned. Sometimes I miss stuff on Gone. By doing this, it's now on gone.rahdo.com, and I'm going to have to go in and edit my comment to explain why I liked it. I thought it was a very, very cool little tension-filled card drafting and tableau building game with some push your luck to it, but a bit too abstract, and it was kind of overshadowed by Castle Combo. Any other year, I might have kept it, quite frankly. It was very good. You should check it out, folks, but you can't check it out. I don't have a run-through for it. Kelp, Shark versus Octopus. This is Dueling Wizards, but is a shark and an octopus, so no thank you. Wondrous Creatures was my number 9, or was it my number 8? Excellent, and it's so great to see it. I didn't think this was going to make the list. I thought I was going to be the only person talking about it, but the denizens of Boardgame Geek, they're on it, and they have spotted it. Good for them. Rebirth is one I only got to play in prototype form. I guarantee this Reiner Knizia game would make it into my top 30. Maybe my top 10, because as I understand it, the base game was a little bit too lightweight, gateway-ish, but it has some really cool-looking expansion content, and unfortunately, I never got a chance to play it. So it remains on my wish list, and if I get a chance to play it before the middle of next year, maybe it'll push its way into my top 30. I suspect it would. Hey, Mighty Boards, give me a call. I want to check it out. Rock Hard 1977. This is such a strongly thematic game, and I love a lot about it, but the gameplay, I seem to be alone in this. It's making out a lot of top 10s, but Jen and I, we could, no, it was just not for us. Such a simple introduction, lighter than Ticket to Ride, lighter than, I mean, think of other classic gateways. Lighter than Carcassonne, lighter than Ticket to Ride, lighter than Lords of Waterdeep, and way too lightweight for us. But man, the theme comes alive so smartly. Fromage, another one that I guarantee would be in my top 30, but I only played the prototype, so I don't know. Such a clever, that cheese wheel spinning, I loved it. This is going to be on some top 10s, be sure. Now, River Valley Glasswork is also going to be on some top 10s. I only played the prototype, and this is kind of like Rebirth. The base game, too lightweight for me and Jen, but it has a lot of great expansion potential and expansions that are coming, so I would love to check it out to see if it pushes into my top 30. Men Nefer. Oh. Oh. Men Nefer, this is a mistake. It's gone. It is previously owned. I'm going to have to update it because I loved it. The gameplay of this one from the designer Germain Germain, the designer of Bitoku, was phenomenal. I think Jen gave this one 5 stars. I liked it a lot too. I loved it. This could have been in my top 10, but it was too long. And if it had had an express mode, like what I talked about earlier for CoLab, I think there's no two ways about it. It would have made it into my top 10. But as it is, it's too long for repeated play for us, so off it goes to the Dice Tower West Convention Library, which is where all my games that are previously owned, that's where they end up going. And if you play them at the convention or at the World Series of Board Games, chances are you're playing a game that the copy Jan and I played. Guest of Robin Hood, this is a, what do you call it, a coin game, counterinsurgency tactics or something like that. Not interested, even though I do like the subject matter. Salton Sea. This is in my top 30. It is an excellent business simulation where your money, you can use your cards as money or you can use them as special powers. So smart, so clever. You can watch my run through. Stone Spine Architects. I think this is my number 11. Just missed my top 10 of the year. A absolutely brilliant tableau building, engine building game. Trying to design a dungeon and populate it with creatures and all that. Loved it to pieces. Just missed making the top 10 of the year. So good. River of Gold, another one I'd really like to try. I fear it to be a little bit too lightweight for me and Jen, but it looks really pretty from a new publisher who I don't have contact with, and they never contacted me, so I didn't get a chance to play it, but it's on my wish list. Another one that might push into the top 30 because it seems very clever, and a lot of people are loving it. It's making some top 10s. Agamonia, Live Your Destiny. Shay covered this for the channel, and it's a nice narrative adventure game, but too light for me and Jen. Not our cup of tea. Heroes of Might and Magic, the board game. I love the original video game. I really probably should put this on my wish list. I don't know enough about it. You're seeing me dynamically put this on my wish list because I need to research it more. Especially because, wow, I mean, it's coming. This must be in like the top 30 best games of the year according to Boardgame Geek, so definitely worth checking out. Cities was in my top 10. Imperium Horizon is previously owned. Here's the thing. This could have been the Imperium I kept because it was almost kind of made for me. It took most of the cutthroatedness out of the Imperium Classics and Legends and replaced it with Trade, which is brilliant. And it even added a new mode that lets it play faster. So it addressed my number 1 and my number 2 problem for Imperium. Too mean and take thatty and too long. Here's the problem. With it, you have to pick one or the other. It can't be both. If you want to play the non-cutthroat version of Imperium Horizons, you got to play the long game because it's very long. The Trade really adds a lot of length to the game. If you want a shorter, faster version of Imperium, well, too bad because basically you can combine them, but Imperium can get shorter with this new set of rules, which is backwards compatible with the original Imperium games. And that's great. I want Imperium to be, 20% shorter. I'm desperate for that. But as soon as you turn on the Trade module, it then goes right back to being even longer than the original. So I needed it to be shorter and less cutthroat, and it's not. And so it's still one of the greatest design accomplishments in card game history, but it's in the gone.rahdo.com. Bomb Busters. Boy, people really love this, but it's a deduction game. I would check it out because it's getting so much love. But I got to admit, I mean, it's a cooperative game. If I'm going to do deduction, hey, co-op makes it more attractive, definitely. So I probably should check this out. The Gang, not interested, because as much as I love the idea of a cooperative game of Texas Hold'em, and it's getting a lot of praise. Look how high it is on this list. It's in a lot of top 10s. 3-player minimum means can't play it because I'm only a 2-player gamer with my wife, Jen. Captain Flip, did it win the Spiel des Jahres? I know it got nominated. It was like one of the 3 best Gateway games. So I'm curious to try it. I probably won't like it. It'll probably be too lightweight for me and Jen, but I'd give it a go. Primal the Awakening. Oh, this is a heartbreaker. I had the full set, and I covered it over, I did a bunch of unboxings and all stuff, and it was a brilliant boss battler game, maybe the best boss battler of all time, quite frankly. Played a bunch of them, and I know Aeon's End is still the best boss battler, but this is the best boss battler with minis. But my wife is done fighting plastic monsters, so sadly it went away. This would be in my top 30 games of the year. But I take my wife into account too, and my top 30 games of the year are ones that will stay on my shelf. And Primal the Awakening does not work for my favorite person in the world, so it doesn't work for me, and it didn't make it. Anyway, Gloomhaven Buttons and Bugs. I so wanted this to work. I had the hubris to think this solo-only game could be turned into a two-player game that Jen and I would enjoy. And I tried and I failed, so I got rid of it. It's a great solo experience. And I know some people are happy with the co-op modes they've come up with, but I was not a fan of those, so off it went to Dice Tower West. Civolution, again, this is one of the three that might make it into my top 10 or my top 30. We'll see. Windmill Valley is my number 3 best game. MLEM Space Agency. Ruel did a run-through for this on the channel. That's really surprising. I remember watching his video thinking, it looks fine, but I'm not really that into it. But this is coming in really high. Like, we're almost at the top. This is like in the top 20. Okay, I guess I got to put it on my wish list then. That is a surprise. And I mean, I literally don't even remember the run-through. I paid Ruel to film it for you, and I watched it, and it did not leave an impression on me at all. But man, that must be something. Castle Combo, one of the 10 best games of the year. Agreed. Skyrise, I think this is another one Shay covered, so it's on my list. I got to check it out. Inventions, Evolution of Ideas, one of designer Vito Lasarda's best designs ever. And I say that because they didn't send me a final copy. I only played the prototype. But Boche and I love this so much. This might be one of those rare games that is incredibly long and way too crunchy for our taste that we would want to keep anyway because the interplay between players was so good. Watch my run through. Ezra and Nehemiah. This is another one from Garp Hill Games. I really liked it when I played it prototype form. They never sent me a final copy. I can't say it would probably make it into my top 30 because, it's not too heavy. It's not as smooth and streamlined as Shipwrights Redux, but I remember being very impressed by it, and I think Jen liked it a lot too. Seventh Citadel, not interested. Watch my run through. Too grimdark for our tastes. Star Wars Unlimited, more dueling wizards, no thank you. Unconscious Mind. Now this is in my top 30. The gameplay here is so good, it should be in my top 10 of the year. Because it's rich, crunchy, meaty gameplay that plays fast. It breaks that, what I just talked about with Inventions and so many other games that are just too long. This is a fast, meaty worker placement game about, being a contemporary of Sigmund Freud and, improving people's lives. I love everything about it. So why isn't it making my top 10? One of the worst rule books of the year, quite frankly. And it made the game so frustrating for me to play it with Jen that I had to knock it down a few pegs because it made some unforgivable sins, unfortunately. But everything else about it is phenomenal. Let's Go Japan. This would be in my top 30. If you go to gone.rahdo.com, you'll see the reason I don't have it is because it makes an excellent gift. And one time when Alex was over filming run-throughs with me, he saw it on my shelf and said, oh, because I had the deluxe edition with all the extra stuff and he didn't have the game at all. And he was so, oh my gosh, it looks so great that I gave it to him as a gift. Because I think Alex is great, and I'm so thankful that he has made my life so much better. The least I could do was give him my copy of Let's Go Japan. If I get another copy of Let's Go Japan, I'm keeping it though, and it is in my top 30 of the year. SETI, The Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. I mentioned Thomas Hollick earlier. I understand why it's so high, and for a lot of people, SETI is going to be the best Thomas Hollick design. For me, it's still Teagarden. For Jen, it's Galileo Galilei. For both of us, SETI is number 3 because as brilliant as the card play is, and that really cool rotating solar system is amazeballs, and the production is phenomenal, but the 2-player scaling broke my heart. And they could have done, it would have been so easy to fix. Go watch my final thoughts. I explain how it could have been fixed. Endeavor Deep Sea, I think is in my top 20. Maybe my top 15. Excellent stuff. Just missed best of the year. I've already done a run through. You can go see. Dune War for Arrakis. Oh, you think I'm interested in fighting for control of Dune Desert Planets and the spy? No, no thank you. Right, I'm trying to get a copy though so that Shay can do a run through for the channel. I've been trying for half a year to get a copy because I know Shay wants to cover it. Andromeda's Edge. Shay did cover this for the channel. Still not for me, still too cutthroat, but brilliant. A lot of top 10s. I totally get it. Wormspan. I think I am one of only 3 media people that thinks Wingspan is superior to Wormspan, and it still is, and that's why it went away. It's, maybe just said something I shouldn't have said. Okay, I didn't say it. Didn't say it. Let's move on. Arcs. God, this breaks my heart. When will Cole Worley make a game for me? Answer, never. And I will just sit on the sideline watching his brilliant, brilliant designs that are so full of players blowing each other up. It's too bad, but I get why it's ranked so high. Slay the Spire. Wow. This is amazing how high ranked this is, because Jen and I, we were both like, meh, ho-hum, it's fine, it's okay, but there's a million games we'd rather play than this. It just did not tickle our fancy at all. So Gonzville it went, but wow, people love it. Harmonies. We just played this the other day. Harmonies, I need to put this on my wish list because we both thought it was very impressive. I'm even impressed enough to say love. Not top 10 of the year, but if I did have a review copy of it so I could play it some more just with Jen so I can really get a sense for it, I'm pretty sure this would be in my top 30 of the year. I know it'd be in Jen's. She really loved it too. But, and congratulations to them. You know, the #2 highest ranked game according to the denizens of Boardgame Geek. That's rarefied air, and it's deservedly so. And then, of course, the #1 game is going to be Lord of the Rings: Duel for Middle-earth. It's currently number 142. But you know, within the next couple of months, it's going to push into the top 100 games of all time. And but hated it. Literally hated it. The #1 game of the year, according to Boardgame Geek, one of my top 3 biggest disappointments. And I talked about that in a more recent roundup. You can go find it. But that's it, folks. That was me going through the top 100 of Boardgame Geek. Was that interesting? Or was that just an exercise in silliness and hubris? Who am I to say I'm just one random voice among many? But I am out of here now at an hour and 23 minutes. Was there anything else to talk about? No, I think that's pretty thorough. Like I said earlier, next week I'm going to be doing my top 25 anticipated for 2025. I'm already starting to make that list. It looks phenomenal. I'll also be doing a roundup. Actually, I'm not talk about these games so much because I just talked about them here so much. You know, the games of December that I was trying to get in. I'm literally looking right over there is Civolution. I'm trying to get, it's just, the game is too big to fit on this little table. I mean, look at this little table I've got here. That's it. That's all the space I've got to play these monster games on. But I'm trying to get Civolution played. You know, that's coming on the channel soon. So, that's it. Thanks, as always, for watching the show. Leave a comment, a like, a subscribe, all that stuff. It helps with the old algorithm. But otherwise, folks, that was it. The year 2024, preliminarily. See you soon. Talk to you later. So long. Bye.